What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Torrence, and in today's video, after I got through with my Black Friday shopping, honey, I decided instead of waiting on all that new stuff you just ordered, why don't you play with some of the new stuff that you have in your collection that you've never tried? And although today was supposed to start off with a Huda Beauty Naughty Nude palette tutorial, I decided since this is the first impressions, why don't you go ahead and add a few other things? And I remembered I have the Nars Soft Matte Complete Foundation. Wearing them both on my face right now. And although this final look came out absolutely stunning, honey, we did come into some issues with both. No product out there is perfect. And although brands are always trying to reinvent themselves, honey, all I can say is watch the tutorial, wait for my final thoughts, and I'll let you know the pros and cons of these products as well as other products that I'm trying from the brands, because truth be told, I buy way too much makeup, honey. And I have products from Huda Beauty as well as Nars that I've never tried. So if you would like to know how I achieved this look as well as my thoughts on them, just go ahead and continue to watch. As already stated, today we are playing with the Huda Beauty Naughty Nude palette. I purchased this palette during the 20% off sale simply because one, Huda Beauty is expensive, and two, she went up $2 more this year. All of her other larger 18 pan palettes I've previously purchased for only $65. This one here now retails at $67, so I'm like, sis, you still going up in price, okay. But because I'm a collector and a sucker, I had to go ahead and get it. But today, I finally have a day off where I can test it out. And if for any reason this thing does not work, trust me, honey, I will be headed back to Sephora. And so I decided if we're going to be in the area of the mall anyway, why not do a bunch of first impressions? Because with today's market, honey, we do not have to settle. If I don't like something, honey, I refuse to keep it. I'm getting my coin back. And it's just weird because this palette absolutely looks amazing just upon first look. The only thing I'm noticing though is that Huda has decided to go from the cardboard packaging, which I absolutely love, over to this plastic one. It seems like all of her palettes have switched over to plastic. And although many people may find that as a little more sturdy, I personally just prefer cardboard. It's easier to depot, it's safer on the environment, but a brand is going to do what they want to do. And I found it rather interesting because the fact that it has gone up $2 in price, I was expecting a little more luxury. But truth be told, this looks like the cheapest packaging out of all of her 18 pan palettes. And if you look here, you can see that we have the word Naughty Nude here. That naughty word seems to be a little bit raised, but this entire piece here is just paper. I'm not sure if it's cardboard or just regular paper, but it's a plastic lining with that paper here. It does come with a really large mirror, but I don't want to blind you all with that, so I'm just going to try to give you a preview of these shadows here. And as you can see, it's a very nice burgundy, warmy, neutral palette. But I think the biggest conversation starter for this palette is this shade here, Slippery. It looks like a jelly type formula and it has these small pearlized colored beads in it. And you're supposed to rub it across and get that color off of that. I'm not sure how that's gonna go. Me personally, I don't like a mixture of textures like that in one palette. I need everything to be all powder or all cream because I am so afraid every time I dip into one of these powder shadows, that thing is going to get caught and it's going to get dirty. And Huda has done this before with those cream shadows inside of a powder product. The last larger palette before that was this one here, the Mercury Metrograde. And although this was plastic here, the entire thing is plastic, even this piece here. So your artwork is protected and I don't have to worry about doing like this and scratching it and damaging it. With this Naughty Nude palette, because that is paper on top, I'm afraid to even stack anything on top of that palette because I'm afraid of it getting damaged. And as you can see with this one, it's 18 pans, but it's all powder products. And with that having some dual chrome shades in there, which is my favorite finish of eyeshadow, I was absolutely in love to even receive this. Once again, something I haven't used, don't judge. The previous palette before that was the new Nude palette here. This was complete cardboard and I absolutely loved it. Even though it has that reflective color there. This does not feel as sensitive as the other palette is. It feels like I can stack things on top of this without worrying, and I actually have stacked palettes on top of this one. And I've covered the mirror with this one, so I don't mind opening this one up. But as you can see, nice neutral palette, but right here we have this shade called Concealed. This is a cream shadow here. It's supposed to be a concealer base, but because I don't want to risk getting anything into there, I've never used this beautiful palette. Once again, don't judge me. And I just really wish she would just sell a cream shadow on the side or just make it free with purchase. But to put that in there, to me, it's just a bad call. There's nothing else to say about it. I also have the Desert Dust palette. This was the, I believe, the second palette release, but this is all powder product, so I absolutely love the fact that she did not have any cream shadows here, and I truly believe she should go back to this. And this one here is the very first palette I purchased from the brand. This is the Rose Gold Remastered. I did not pick up the first version because there was so much controversy back and forth about the formula. I didn't want to risk it, but I absolutely love this palette, and I've used this many times. Although I may not have used these other four, this is one I can tell you is a true winner. The only problems you may have is with these metallic shades, you tend to have to use a brush or a silicone applicator. But one of my absolute favorite shades of all time is this shade here, Blessed. She's so beautiful, I don't mind using my fingers. But we've done enough talking about the O palettes. I just wanted to give you all a show of what she went from, how she started off with these three here in cardboard, which I absolutely love. Started adding that cream shade here. Everyone talked crap about it. We did not want that there. We wanted an additional shade. But then she switched over to Mercury Retrograde. And although we were all excited about the new packaging, I personally just knew in the back of my head she was just going to switch over. And I'm not a fan of that. But just looking at the colors here, we're going to give them a fair shot. Although packaging does play a part in my decision, for me, it's all about that formula and that final look. So as long as Huda has not done anything weird, we may keep it. But just sitting here looking at this palette, it just seems like everything's gonna be nice and beautiful. It's just that slippery shade is throwing me off. I don't see when and how I'm gonna use it, but we're gonna attempt to today. And I'm gonna be totally upset if I'm headed out in public and my eyeshadow start melting on my face, I promise you. When I go to run errands, this palette will be going with me, because if my eye look don't last all day, Sephora gonna be getting it back today. And something else I'm just now noticing is the fact that the back of the palette only has a description of the palette. It does not have the ingredients list. So if you would like to know the ingredients list, you will have to keep the plastic box that comes with the palette here. It is printed here on the back, but not anywhere else. So if you are someone who has sensitivity to ingredients, I would truly recommend reading this before you toss it out. And because my last look was more brownie neutral, we're gonna try to stick to a more pinky look today. So instead of going in here with Juicy, which caught my eye at first, I'm gonna switch up here to the shade Filthy, because at the end of the day, we are doing the Naughty Nude, so we're gonna stick to those naughty shades. And per usual, all tools and products will be in the description bar below. So we're gonna go in with a large fluffy brush for our transition shade. And I can tell you off rip, these shades are coming off as extremely powdery. Like really powdery. And in my experience, that's either a really good thing because they're going to be really pigmented and blendable, or they're going to be really chalky and dusty. So let's find out what we're going to get. Whoop. Huda said, play with your mama, don't play with me, honey, because we already got some pigment going. She said, I don't know who you calling chalky. This shade is a little light and a little ashier than I would personally prefer. But as a transition, it's going to be absolutely beautiful because I can still look and tell that that is a pale pink shade. So any crease color I use after this, I believe it's going to come out even pinker than usual. Okay, I'm going to go in with one more layer because that blended out much faster than expected. And this second layer is going to help me realize if we're going to get even more pigmentation going on. So we're going to go back in. You want to blend that all the way up, honey. You want to take this high. Okay, and it does not appear that we got any more pigmentation, so I'm guessing that first layer did it for me, which is a good thing. And just because I want to be a little extra, I'm going to dip my brush one more time right here from the outer V and raise that up a little higher than normal. All right, and now we're just going to jump ahead, do this on the other side, and we'll be right back. Okay, seamless, beautiful blend. And it seems like with time, after I've let that set for a few seconds while blending, that color did come off a little better. You can even see that on camera that that's a nice light pink. So now we're ready to go in with our crease shade. Because I'm still trying to keep everything more pink tone and we just went in with that shade Filthy, I'm going to go in right underneath it to that shade Untamed and use that for my crease and outer V. And when I tell you, honey, that first shade was powdery. It was flying all over the place inside the pan. With this next shade here, Untamed, although there does seem to be some kick up, it's not flying all over the place, which I'm truly appreciating. So I'm going to load up an even smaller brush and blend that throughout my entire crease. Ooh, might have loaded a little too much, talking crap, baby. Okay, well, at least we know for sure she pigmented as well. Alright, so I guess I'm only going to need one layer of this. We're going to start off low in the crease to get most of that pigment there, and then we're going to start to lift that brush up as high in the socket as we can get it to diffuse those edges. Okay, sis says she bringing the pigmentation. And even though I started off with an accident there, you can see where that blended straight out. Okay, Huda, I ain't gonna stun on you, honey. I'm gonna give you your props. So far, things coming out nice. We're gonna put this here on the outer V, just to help start off as a transition shade for our next color. But I ain't gonna lie to you, honey. This is coming out real pretty. I'm gonna go ahead, do the other side. We wanna start really low so we don't mess up like we did on the last side, girl. Alright, now I'll be back after I blend this side out. All I can tell you, honey, is so far with these mattes, as always with Huda Beauty, they blend in like a dream. Like, this is going on so fast, so easy, so seamless. I think it's going to be hard for her to mess up these shimmers, honey, because shimmer shadows are usually easier to make, but we ain't going to judge beforehand. We're going to go ahead and grab us a smaller blending brush. I want to try to see if this shade here, Spicy, comes off a little darker than Untamed. So we're going to try to use that to deepen up the outer V and the outer half of our crease. Because this is a nude palette, I'm really not expecting much more deeper than this. But we're going to try. Oh, I think we got it. I think that did it. Okay, I got me a little more depth going on. And y'all can see that on camera. We're just going to place that right there on the outer half of our outer V. And with no additional product, we're going to take that and just blend that to the outer half. I don't want to take it to the inner half because I want the smoky to be more blown out. Pay more attention to the crease out here so things will look a little lighter toward the center of the eye. And I normally would go in and add just a little bit more to give me a little more depth. But because this is supposed to be a new look, we're going to skip that. Dip our brush a little bit more and hit this side up. And I'll be right back once I finish with this. Honey, she beautiful. This is so pretty. I'm not sure what to think about it. Now it's time to jump into some of these shimmer shades, and here's my issue with this. I see we have one formula here where everything seems marbled, so I'm not 100% sure what color I'm going to get in the end because I don't know if it's going to lean a little more to this one or that one there. And then we have our solid colors here. And I want to try one of those marble shades. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take a risk. I'm going to start off with this shade here, Shameless, and we're going to put that on the inner half. And then we're going to go into this shade here, Provocative, and put that on the outer half. And we just going to hope for the best. Ooh, sis, I almost forgot to put on a little eye primer before we do that. So let me race in and get that done. I'm going to go ahead and just get a little bit. I don't want to cut this crease high today. Just really focusing on having something there to make sure I get a nice adhesion. I did not realize my camera was not recording, but luckily the only thing I've done was put on that shade Shameless. My apologies, but I tried to go in with a natural hair brush here on this side. Things were terrible. It hardly picked up any product, As you can see, I have a ton of fallout here underneath my eye, even though I have a glitter primer on. And no, she just didn't do it. So on this side, I switched over to my silicone applicator. She went on much faster, much more color payoff, much less fallout. So I went back in and finished both eyes on the inner corners with the silicone applicator with the shade Shameless. Now I'm going to go back in with my natural hair brush, and we're going to try to go in with that shade Provocative. I've already cleaned this brush off, and so now we're going to see how this picks up. And just looking at this, it looked like it may be the same way. She picked up a lot easier. She's applying easier and has much less fallout, so maybe not. Maybe this product, okay. But truth be told, just looking at this color here on the eye, I can see a difference in person, but I truly would have liked a little more depth with this color. The shade in front, Shameless, has a much more reflective particles in it. They look like they have a nice purple hue. This shade Provocative is just nice and shimmery. The pearls that are in it are much more subtle. And just for comparison, I want to go on this side with the silicone applicator and see what we get as well. And I'm thinking we're going to get the same thing. More color payoff, easier. Honestly, although I feel as if I got more opacity using the silicone applicator with this one, I feel as if the brush gave me much less fallout. Yeah, I like the brush better with this one. In my opinion, the silicone applicator works best with those solid shades. These marble shades, I will go in with the brush because I just feel as if it gave me more shine, and going back over it now, it really does appear that way. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and leave that like this. Now that we finished most of the look on the top of the lids, the only thing I think I would like to add to this is that shade Slippery. But because I don't want to risk this messing up, because I have no idea how that shade is going to turn out, what I want to do is finish off the face, and then we'll come back and add that shade Slippery later. But because we're doing a first impressions video and I'm testing out things that I've never used before, instead of going in with my Nars Sheer Glow, which is one of my absolute favorite foundations of all time, honey, you cannot keep me away from this thing. What I'm going to do is slide over here. As you can see right here on the shelf behind me, that's where I keep my foundations, and I have that new Nars Soft Matte Foundation. So we'll be right back, and I'm going to do a demo on applying that foundation, and then I'll skip forward, do the rest of my face, and we'll be back to the eye. Had to cut off camera and apply primer and wash my fingers just because I don't want to be touching things with sticky hands. But today, the thing I'm truly excited to try out, this here. I've purchased every foundation that Nars has released since I've gotten into makeup, and it seems like if one isn't my favorite, it's at least my second favorite in my rotation. And so there was no way you were going to come out with a new foundation and I not try it, especially when they're making claims like the new take on matte, comfortable 16-hour wear. 16-hour wear? We're going to test you on that. Full natural looking coverage. True color oxidation resistant. Another big claim. Transfer proof. Shine proof. You know what? My oily skin had to figure this one out, because I'm like, baby, y'all playing with my feelings making big old claims like that. And this one here really shocked me because I was truly excited to hear that they're going to give us 1.5 ounces instead of the traditional 1 ounce. But a little part of me was like, why did you give us this plastic bottle, Nars? To me, that's just automatically 1 point down. Like, I don't care what anybody says to me, glass looks better, it feels more luxe. And with Nars being a high-end brand, I like getting my glass packaging, honey. But truth be told, if you're going to give me an extra ½ ounce of product, we might not hold that to you. So we're going to go ahead. I've already shaken this up. And we have a twist off cap, which is a first as well. And just looking at this bottle with a dropper top here, it's just reminding me of the MAC Face and Body. But this says it's going to be full coverage. That Face and Body is light coverage. So I'm going to just take some, squirt it on the back of my hand. I'm wearing the shade Tahoe, which is medium dark too. That's the same shade I wear in all of their foundations. And before we put the cap back on, we're going to go ahead and see what this looks like. I'm going to just use my finger, and dot this all over. And because they did say this is full coverage, honey, I might have just grabbed too much. But I'm someone who ain't never been scared of foundation, honey. I want all the coverage because I have 5 o'clock shadow, I have acne scars. And because we're going to be naughty nude, honey, we need to put a little covering on this. Ooh, yeah, honey, I think I might have way too much foundation going on. Gonna have me feeling like Chloe Morello when she did that Marc Jacobs foundation. And I'm just wiping my finger off on the brush just to help, 1, clean the finger, and 2, give the brush something to already have coated so it doesn't take too much product off the face. And now we're just gonna go in. I like to start around the outer perimeters and blend in. I understand that is the opposite way of doing things, but when you're going for coverage, honey, that's a technique that works. And you can already see, honey, this is not playing with the coverage. Like, baby, that is covering. Underneath the eye, hit my nose up, and my main concern is always this 5 o'clock shadow area. And I tend to go all the way up to the lip line, maybe even cover the lips a little bit because I can always wipe that off. But I just like to make sure whatever lip product I put on after that has a very sharp edge to line up against. And like I said, honey, they are not playing when they said this is full coverage. The only other, I believe, like truly full coverage foundation they have is the All Day Luminous Weightless Foundation. I absolutely love that one, but no lie, that one is a little more full coverage than this one, and it certainly looks like it on the skin because when they say this is a soft matte, you can truly tell that. And it almost feels as if it's already starting to set on its own, like I won't need much powder. But because I'm over the top and I like to bake, honey, you know we're going in with powder regardless. Gonna get this all the way up here to the forehead. And down between the nose. I always like to take my brush right here. Hit it up on both sides. And just because we have a tiny bit of product right here on the back of the hand, no point of washing that off. I'm gonna take my brush across that and hit up any area I think could use a little more blending. And first thing I have to say is, I am loving the fact that this is not giving off the brush strokes that many of my other foundations give off in the beginning. This came off out the back, just already blending itself. And like I said, this almost looks like from a distance, like I don't even need to set this. Okay. Just in my personal preference, this is looking a little more matte than what I would like. But you never know what's gonna happen in the end. All right, I can go ahead, put this cap back on so I don't accidentally spill anything. And like I said, things just look nice and soft and matte. I don't look dry, but I don't have the normal hydrated dewy look that I would normally have. For me, although they call this full coverage, like I said, it is not as full coverage as their All Day Luminous Weightless. And because it does have a slightly more matte texture to it, especially right here underneath the chin, I can see a little more texture than I normally would. But so far, that ain't deferring me because the color match is absolutely beautiful. So what we're gonna do is go ahead, finish off the face, and I'll be back to tell you how we're gonna finish off the eye. Honey, we're back, and I decided to play with a few other things in my collection that I had never used before. Starting off with Nars, because we went in with this foundation I had never tried, I decided to go in with my larger than life long wearing eyeliner. This is a black one in the shade Via Veneto. I've had this for such a long time and never used it just because I always have my Urban Decay black liners right here. So although I knew I had this, there was never a reason to use it. And I honestly like her. She's probably not as soft and creamy as my Urban Decay ones, but then again, I don't know if that's because this is old or if this is because it's a drier formula. But considering the fact it went straight on, if this is an old one, I'm quite sure a brand new one would be immaculate because I didn't have any dragging, any tugging. It's just I could tell it was a drier formula. Also from Nars, I decided to finally try out their Climax mascara. I received this as a sample, and because mascaras take so long to run through, I usually try not to open more than 2 or 3 at a time. But because we're wearing Nars, I wanted to go ahead and try this, and honey, this mascara is a winner. I'm looking at this now, and I'm telling you, it gives me those long spider lashes that I like from the Lancome Monsieur Big, but it's a slightly thicker formula. No, it's a slightly thinner formula, so it doesn't look as dramatic. It looks much more natural. And I think for more subtle days, this may be like, she up there, honey. This fighting with my Essence Lash Princess. It ain't quite my Lancome Monsieur Big, just because that's my all-time favorite. But I wouldn't mind repurchasing this bad boy. For blush, I decided to go in with my Marc Jacobs Night Fever and Hot Stuff blush. I had this before, and when it first came, it came shattered. And so I was using it, but it was broken up pieces anytime I had it. I finally remembered that they sent me a replacement that I never used. So I went in with this just because it has a nice berry tone. Usually I used to go in with the other one and use just those bigger pieces of this color here. Today I took my brush, swiped it all the way across to get an even color. And although the color payoff was a lot stronger at first, it does seem to have muted since then. I can really see it on camera here, but in person it doesn't seem as dramatic. But to me, that's more of a good thing that I didn't go over the top because I'm known for my clown blush. And because I'm just a fan of lip products, lips are my favorite part of the body, you can see I have those 3 Huda Beauty containers there. And I've only purchased 2 of those. The lighter one that's on the outside here, as well as that red one. That really hot pink one was gifted to me as a friend just for the container. I don't actually have those lipsticks. But because one is more of a mauve color and one was a red, of course I stuck with that mauve one here. This is my first time using the Huda Beauty lip contour in the shade Muse. I wore that first. And then for the liquid lipstick, this is a matte called Muse as well. So, ooh, matching combo. Muse lip liner, Muse liquid lipstick. This is a miniature. It came with that set. And the color, although I probably would have never picked this color on my own just because mauves just really don't do it for me. I generally prefer either a pink or a purple. To do mauve just isn't really my taste. But looking at that with this eyeshadow, I'm sitting back like, honey, you purty. And on top of that, I was going to put on the lip strobe that it came with, but I want to do that in the end and do that on camera here. And to finish off the eyes, we want to first go in with the lower lash line. I think what I'm going to do just to keep things rather soft and smoky is probably start off with that shade Untamed with a push liner brush and then go in with that shade Filthy with a pencil brush. I want to get me some nice color, but I only want this to be slightly dramatic. So we're going to make sure we push this all the way up so that that color is very noticeable. We're going to connect it to the outer edge as well. Give me a little bit more just to make sure he comes up and meet that outer edge. We'll do this on the other side. Now we're going to take a pencil brush in that shade Filthy and use that to just blow things out. We want to just barely diffuse that color. We don't want it to disappear. And if this wasn't such a laid-back soft look, more than likely I would have gone in with just the shade Untamed on the pencil brush. We want things to be a little softer than that. And before I go in and finish off the eyes with that slippery shade, because I'm not sure how things are going to turn out, what I want to do is go in and highlight my inner corner and my brow bone highlights. Because I've already used Marc Jacobs for the first time on the cheeks, I want to try out his new Omega Glaze All Over Full Luminizer in the shade Guilty. I remember showing you all this in my anti-haul video. I finally received it this year because I missed out last year. But, honey, look at her. She gorgeous, honey. I thought I missed out last year. Honey, I came up this year. So what I want to do is just find me a nice flat shader brush, and we're gonna only use this on the inner corners and the brows just so I can get a feel of what the color is like. Ooh wee, baby. I picked up a whole ton of product. And because I have too much product right here, we're gonna start off highlighting the inner corners because we want that to be beaming. Okay, and she's very pretty. I think she might be a little loud for the color for my actual face. I think she'll look pretty, but I don't think she'll come off as natural considering how strong that peachy gold color is. But right there on the eyes, she absolutely stunning. So we're gonna use her. And what product is left for underneath the brows? And I ain't playing, just so I can enjoy this look as long as possible, we're gonna do that eye part last. Now is the time we've all been waiting for. Unfortunately, I broke a nail at work, so since this index finger is clear, I can go ahead and use this one. And we're just gonna go ahead. Ooh, you can actually feel those little pearls inside. Like when you rub them across, you feel those little things. And although that texture looks clear at first, I can see it starting to turn a little pink. You know what? We're just gonna go ahead. Actually, let me get a little more. I want to make sure my finger is saturated. All right, you guys, here goes nothing. We're gonna pray for the best. Gonna go in. To me, yeah. No, sis, don't do that. To me, that just took my look right on down. Just looking at this set, it has more sparkle, more depth and dimension. This just seems to have mixed and blurred those two together. So I tell you what, sis, I'm not doing that on this side. I'm not messing up this whole face. No, ma'am, we're not doing that. Considering I don't like that shade Slippery, I feel as if it just muted down my eye look. We're going to go ahead and skip to lips. And we're going to add the lip strobe in the shade Angelic on top. I'm going to put this only in the center, just so I can still see the outer perimeters looking matte and give me a difference in texture. Ooh. Honey, did you see how that just happened? As soon as I pressed my lips together, that liquid lipstick just peeled off right there. Everything was sitting there just fine until I put this on. And as soon as I pierced my lips together, where the lip strobe is at, it's just fine. Those areas on the outer edges, you can see just flake straight off. So I guess we about to put this all over the lip. Huda. Okay, we're going to give that some time to go ahead and fuse together because, baby, we cannot go out with patchy lips. That's not going to work. So what I want to do now is just go ahead, go wash my fingers because I still have the slippery shade here. And when I come back, I'll spray the face and give you all my final thoughts. Now we're back and it's time to set everything. So we're going to start off with Fix Plus to give us a glowy do. All-nighter so things last all day. Cheap Fan, Expensive Breeze, Good Times. Gonna give this a few more seconds to dry and I'll be back to give you all my final thoughts. And this is the final look. I'm gonna go ahead and give you all a full face view of things before I give you all my final thoughts. And I'm here to tell you, honey, I'm 50-50 right now. I'm not 100% sure. Where do we start? First off with the eyeshadow palette. The fact that it costs $2 more already leaves me believing when I first went in that I should be even more satisfied because if you're charging more than you used to, I'm expecting more than I used to. In my opinion, this palette is the new Nude 2.0. If you are someone who had the new Nude palette and you're completely satisfied with it, I don't see any reason to go out and pick up this palette. If you're someone who had that one but felt as if you want a little more depth to it, you need darker colors, let's say because you either A, prefer darker colors or you have a darker skin tone, I would say this is probably the one you would want because the matte shades in here are deeper than the one in the new Nude. With them both having a, whatever we're going to call this, a cream shadow, a liquid shadow, whatever you want to say, it's not a powder shadow here. This one here has a weird texture, and many times people put that on top to give you a glossy wet look. Unfortunately, with glossy wet looks, they do not last all day. That is something that most people do for editorial reasons, something they just do to take their pictures. But if you expect to wear a glossy wet look for 8, 9, 10 hours, honey, you're going to be disappointed. So although I did not like the fact they put a concealer shade in the new Nude palette, I think that is much more practical than this shade here. In my opinion, Huda did this just for the controversy. Whether you like it or not, people were going to be talking about it, and that's what a brand wants, is to be talked about because that's free PR. So for me, right now, I just want to test this out again because I really felt as if I truly enjoyed the look I had on the eyes up until the moment I put this on top. And I've heard from other people that they like putting that down on the bottom first and then going in with another shade. But it was like, what's the point of giving us a shade if it's gonna have to go on the bottom and putting colored pearls in there? If the color of these pearls isn't gonna shine through, you could have just did another concealer shade. But, and also the fact that the marble shades can be used with a brush, but the solid shades come off better with a silicone applicator. If you're someone who likes to keep things simple and use as few tools as possible, she not for you. If like me, you don't mind pulling out 15 brushes, 15 different things to get a full look going, as you can see here, honey, this is not no soft, quick out the door look. I don't mind it. So right now, I'm gonna keep it. I truly do want to test this out one more time because I want to see what this is like with this underneath it. Otherwise, more than likely, if this doesn't look good underneath the shadows, I'm either A, going to take this palette back, or B, just never use this shade Slippery. But just holding these two palettes up side by side, you can see they basically carry the same color story. It's just one looks like, you know, it's swirls of different colors. The other one looks like it's block of colors. The top one does have glitters and the bottom one doesn't. So that may be a determining factor for you. But just looking at this, I see more mattes in the top palette. And I see lighter matte. So if you have a lighter skin tone or like lighter colors, get the new Nude, save yourself $2. If not, and you want deeper, more pigmented colors, or you just want to expand your range, because I'm quite sure using these two together would be absolutely fabulous, then you can go ahead and get that second one. But I think more people are going to stick to this one, especially considering this top one goes on sale sometimes. I've never seen the bottom one on sale. All right, still sticking with Huda Beauty. For these lips products here, the lip pencil went on, it was pigmented, it went straight on, like I had no issues. The problem is, when she says super long wearing matte pencil, she not playing, because baby, this thing did not budge when I tried to buff it out. I'm someone who loves putting on a lip pencil, putting it on extra thick because I don't care, and then going in with my Precision Smudger brush from e.l.f. Ulta, the number 124 brush. I love using this to diffuse out my lip pencils to give me an ombre look with or without a product on top of it. So when I tried to go in with this brush, honey, there was hardly little to no blending those edges. So I'm glad I went on with a full coverage liquid lipstick on top. The problem is I went in with this full coverage liquid lipstick because, honey, this thing is dry. This thing not matte, it's dry. When I first put it on, I could see the lines in my lips, but because lips naturally have lines, that wasn't a big breaking factor for me. But to know that the very first time I pressed my lips together, this thing started peeling, no ma'am. I got this in a red as well, and although I may try it out just having fun, I don't think you could ever pay me to walk out the house wearing one of these. She's no good. But her saving grace was this lip strobe. It's a metallic lip gloss. Putting this on top of that gave me a more hydrated look. And 9 times out of 10, when I'm wearing a lipstick, usually I like to go in with the gloss over it just simply because I find gloss much more comfortable. I think a glossy lip looks healthier and looks more attractive than a matte lip. So even if this didn't come with this, I probably would have put a gloss on top of it once I noticed it broke. But the glosses, I love her. The doe foot on this, it's a teardrop shape, slides across the lip. I was able to put this on without that liquid lipstick underneath it transferring. So the liner, if you want something truly long wearing, get that, but you're gonna have to work extremely fast. That liquid lipstick, skip at all costs. This gloss, I really like it, so I could possibly repurchase another shade of that. For the foundation, I'm gonna tell you, I really, really, really like this. But I'm someone who has oily skin. So a matte foundation is something that doesn't scare me. If you have dry skin, don't do this, honey. You're going to be so upset with yourself that you put this matte foundation on your dry skin, because in the beginning, I was telling you how it looked like it almost set itself because it was just that matte looking. It did not look dry, but I was really worried about going in with powder on top of it, and I kept telling you I can see the texture here underneath my neck because I am someone who shaves on a regular basis. Once I went in with the rest of my routine and put powder on top, I baked just as I would any other foundation, simply because I'm a fan of baking. Everything came out looking even better to me in the end. The fact that my pores right here are usually my biggest concern right here with makeup, it honestly, in my opinion, looks like it diminished the look of my pores. But once again, the texture right here underneath my neck, I can still see it a little more than I would a normal foundation like their Sheer Glow, but for me, that's not a big issue. I'm someone who has a 5 o'clock shadow when I'm not wearing makeup, so to have a little texture there, it is what it is. And to know that I'm getting 1.5 ounces, that's 50% more product. So I have this. Will I use it up? For sure. Will I repurchase? I think it'll depend on what my skin is like when it comes time to repurchase, because I think this will probably be much better in the summertime. What I really think its best selling point is, if you are someone like me who like the Nars All Day Luminous Weightless Foundation, to me, this seems like her thinner, younger sister. Like, she's not quite as full coverage, she's not quite as matte, she's not quite as heavy on the skin, but you can tell they came from the same parents. So I really say, if you have normal to oily skin, if you're really worried about getting full coverage without having a cakey look, get her. If you have texture or anything, avoid her at all costs. This mascara, honey, she real pretty. She is real pretty, and as soon as this run out, I see myself getting the full size. This longwear eyeliner, I like her. The thing is, they don't come out with this eyeliner in as many shades as my Urban Decay one, and considering the fact that most times you can buy an Urban Decay product and get a free black eyeliner with it, I find it hard to want to go out and purchase any other black liner. So although I have this and I'm going to continue to use it because she was fabulous, full pigmentation, no smudging or anything like that, if you don't have a black eyeliner, get her. If you already do, she's not worth crying home over. For the Marc Jacob blushes, I love these. I think everyone I've ever seen use these absolutely love them, but I don't think they keep them in stock as often as they used to. I'm not sure if they're just discontinuing them or they're trying to reformulate or repackage them, but I have them, and it's usually hard to mess up a blush. I personally wish it came off with the color that I'm seeing on camera that I can see here in person, but in person it barely looks like I'm wearing blush. But then again, that's the whole point. Blush is supposed to look like you're naturally flushed, or that's blood coming from underneath the skin, not like you have a product sitting on top of the skin. So we're gonna give this a thumbs up. And with this Omega Glaze highlighter, I'm absolutely happy that I have it because I've been wanting it for so long. But I don't see this being something that I'll be able to wear on my skin on a daily basis simply because of the color. It blended beautifully, it was pigmented, but I'm gonna try this out again one day, just all over the face. Because I'm wearing a new foundation, I wanted to stick to my normal highlighter just so I know exactly how the glow comes off, and I could tell exactly if that was coming from the foundation or my highlighter. But the next time I wear my Sheer Glow, I think I'm gonna try this all over the face. Well, I think we've talked about all the products that I tried out today, so I think we're done here. I hope you all truly did enjoy this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you already are, I want to say thank you. And make sure you check out my giveaway video, which I'll leave linked here. And remember, you must be subscribed to the channel and you must leave a comment in that giveaway video to be entered. And I ordered a few other things earlier today because it is Black Friday. And I'm hoping, y'all keep y'all fingers crossed, that everything I ordered does come in time, because if so, I have a few other things I want to add to that giveaway. Don't tell nobody. That's our little secret. Don't tell nobody I've been spending some more money, girl. But with nothing else, I hope you all remember to practice, continue to stay blessed, and until next time, goodbye, YouTube.